Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is Reb and we are looking at this month's visual journal entries. This will be for the month of October and this completes this book. So let's take a look inside. So for this month I used the Artist Pitt brush pen, or the Pitt Artist brush pen from Faber-Castell in the color Nougat. And then I did all the coloring in Neocolor 2s. This is just like a random selection, not random, carefully chosen selection of colors that I wanted to use. I decided I wanted to go with like a softer kind of color palette. And yeah, those are the colors that I chose. They all fit perfectly in this little McDonald's tin, so that was great. And here's the first page. So October 1st began with more carving. I was working on a big project, the Rock and Rollin' Prince. If you want to learn more about that, there's a whole video about it. I'll link it somewhere up here. The rest of the day was just kind of a typical day, nothing really major going on other than the carving. The day after that was Lake Lucerne art hang party. That was really fun. Stroke Mom submitted some really cool photos and I really enjoyed drawing all the lake landscapes. That night we read some books, one of which was really cute. It was about a little ghost that had a quilt blanket. And I thought it was really beautifully drawn. And then I just had like terrible insomnia. Probably just anxious about everything that I had going on. Next day was just a work day and a typical, night. Nothing major. Day after that, I was really just like focused on carving. I was feeling a little bit of pressure to finish the piece, so really was working hard on that. Work was just kind of a typical day, but I did end up having to work late, so I was really thankful for some pizza being ready to go when I got home and not having to worry about dinner. Next day, more carving, but getting very close to the end, which is great. We watched Wizard of Oz with our son, which did capture his attention for at least a little while, but definitely lost a little bit towards the end there. The next day, I finally finished all of my carving on my piece, but there were like a couple like random other things that I needed to do before I could really say I was done. But I did take a little bit of a break just to kind of recoup. Day after that, I finished up at least some of it and then ended up going out to the garden and finding this really beautiful eggplant. So we made some fried eggplant, which was really delicious. And my son played at the little sand pile, which he was having a great time just pretending he was a bulldozer. Next day was not a day that I typically work, but I had some meetings that I needed to go to, so I had to end up going to work. But luckily I didn't have to stay all day, so I got to take a little bit of time to myself to go and get coffee and then run my typical errands. A day after that was art hang party. It was Build a Museum, which was really fun. I submitted some photos for that one, because I have lots of museum photos. And then again, typical bath day. This day was kind of funny because he decided that he wanted ice cream in the bath, and there were these little tiny drumsticks that were really cute. The next day, again, typical work day, a lot of meetings that probably could have been emails. I did some digital work, just kind of trying to knock out some stuff for Zine Fest. And when I got home that day, the moon was just like so beautiful. It was like really low in the sky, really big, and this like really brilliant orange color against the like dark blue sky. So I drew that in there. Day after that was a day off, and I ended up going to the park with my son. We were having a great time going down the slides, racing down the slides together, and then we went down the trail, and he was cracking me up because he kept pointing out the same plant over and over again, and it was always poison ivy. But fun nonetheless. And then later, Olinda came and surprised me. She was going to go to Rock and Roll and Prince with me, so to have dinner and talk art supplies, and it was really fun. So as I mentioned, next day was the official Rock and Roll and Prince event, where we take our boards in and they get inked and steamrolled, and the prints get pulled. Like I said, I made a whole video about it, but I would just want to mention how nerve-wracking the whole experience was. Just not knowing how your print was going to turn out. But spoiler alert, I think my print turned out great, and I was so very, very thankful to have not only Olinda there, but my boyfriend and my son just kind of cheering me on. So it was really awesome. The day after that, I was in some pain, mainly from just carrying big heavy boards, loading things up, cleaning things, but I literally regret nothing. That was such a fun experience. Day after that, I was off, thank God, and we wanted to go to the trail. That's typically like the kind of stuff that we do on our days off, but the mosquitoes were just terrible. So couldn't do that. So we ended up going to the library instead, and we were surprised to find that they were doing a craft. I didn't get to hear the instructions about the craft, so we just kind of made it up as we went along. But my son went crazy with the glue, and everything was just swimming in glue. So I just thought it was really funny because the googly eyes were just like sliding off the paper. There was so much glue. Day after that was a beach day. I went specifically to see if I could find some sea glass, but we didn't have any luck. But we did see a bunch of other like cool stuff. I did some texture foraging. We saw a cool bird. It was just like a really fun day, and there were some really big, big trees that had washed up on shore, which was pretty neat. The next day was a art hang party where we drew our past selves and our present selves. I didn't submit photos for the actual art hang party, but I did draw, a kid pic of myself. But it just was really like kind of hitting home, going through all of my photos and seeing like pictures of my son when he was like really small and just born. And it just felt like very nostalgic and very bittersweet. Day after that was a work day, but I did sneak out to have lunch with a friend, and we went to a place called Hungry's, which had the most amazing, it's healthy food, I guess, but also very delicious. I got a beet bowl, and it had like beets and coconut rice and Brussels sprouts, and it was just so delicious. And then later that day, we did Free Draw Frenzy, which we drew Ikebana inspired floral arrangements, and those are photos that I had submitted from an event that happens at the museum every other year. But really beautiful flower arrangements, and really fun drawing along with everybody and actually like seeing people kind of face to face via Zoom. So that was a really great time, and very thankful that Melissa and Debbie Draws Funny let me participate in that one. So that was really cool. I'll put a link to the video, the replay of that one, because you can always go back and draw it after the fact. Next day was the No Kings protest. Our city definitely participated, but it was for the most part a peaceful protest, and everything went, good. I wish I could have gone myself, but I had some other things that were pressing, mainly my mom's birthday and just watching my son and stuff. But it was really, really nice to see people participating. I saw a couple elderly couples with shirts and signs, one of which said Grand Tifa, which I really, really appreciated. And I'm so thankful that people are out there, for the cause. Day after that, I had a bunch of errands to run, but I ended up picking up my friend to come with me to run those errands, and it was a lot funner with somebody to do it with. We got coffee and cookies, and at the end of the day, it was just a typical day, but my son was basically delirious because he was just laughing at the silliest stuff. Next day, I was just feeling the pressure to finish up stuff on my to-do list, but I really wanted to still take advantage of the meteor shower that was happening that evening, so we set up our hammocks in the backyard and just camped out under the stars. Orion didn't make it all the way through the night, but I ended up staying out there for a lot longer. The next day was a typical errands day, but just as I was leaving the house, my friend messaged me and said that they were going to be in the area. So I got to catch up with some friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and that was really nice. And then I was just trying to figure out some stuff for a project. The next day probably doesn't look like much, but I ended up getting a new car unexpectedly. We went in to just kind of take a look, and of course the salesman did their job and got us a really great deal. So I ended up getting a new car, and it was really nice. It was a really good experience. And then we made some pasta at home with mushrooms and butternut squash. That was delicious. Day after that, I was trying to figure out how to make this zine that I had an idea about. I had made kind of a prototype, and it works, but it's not very clean, and I was getting super frustrated, but I'll figure it out eventually. I think I was just honestly having a day, just a day in general. So, and then the next day, unfortunately, not much better. We had a little bit of a rough day. My son ate a bunch of Mucinex gummies that look like candy but are not candy. Luckily, Poison Control said it's not a big deal, just to monitor, and that was okay. I will say to parents, don't buy candy or don't buy medicine that looks like candy. Just not a good idea. And then my father-in-law also had kind of a rough day and had to go to the emergency room. So a little bit of a tough day, but everybody's okay. So next day was just I was just doing a bunch of preparation for Zine Fest. We cooked some macaroni and cheese with broccoli, and then we are continuing on our potty training journey. So that has been a little bit of an adventure. The day after that, we went over to the museum to see this exhibition by an artist named Kosicha that I really like. And I took my son with me so that he could check it out, and he really liked it. It looks very futuristic and spacey, so he had a good time. And then when we got home, just as I was getting out of the car, I noticed some Starlink satellites flying over our house. There's just a bunch of little lights in a line, so it was pretty cool looking. Day after that, I was working on the costume that we were going to wear for Halloween and just doing some typical housework and things like that. and then also trying to figure out what I was going to take with me on vacation. The next day was a day off. We all went to the Sea Center, which was really fun. It's just a little small sea center close to where I live. Nothing super spectacular, but they've got a nice little setup, and they've got a little marsh trail just outside of the sea center. So we kind of went around and looked at stuff out there as well. We saw some alligators and turtles and ibises, things like that. So the next day we had gotten a cold front, and I was doing arts and crafts because I was trying to finish up our costume, and then got the bright idea to once again cut my bangs and cut them way too short again. But it's fine, whatever. I ended up wearing a hat the next day because, my bangs were just not cooperating, and ended up having a bunch of meetings that I had to wear a hat to. So a little bit awkward. My son was having a night that evening. He got really upset because he broke the handle in our bathtub. Little does he know it was already broken. So, but for some reason he was just like super upset about it. Toddler life. What can I say? And then it was Halloween. I had to work that day, so I did work a little bit, but I left a little early. Got home and got everybody into their costumes, except for myself, because my costume was actually a surprise. My son didn't know that I had been making this costume, so it was kind of a big reveal moment. He wanted to dress up as Danny Go, which is a YouTube personality that does singing and dancing, kind of focused around kids moving and getting exercise. And I will say that, like, out of all of the shows like that, I find Danny Go to be kind of the least offensive one, because the production value is actually fairly good and the singing is very good and the animations and things like that. So I was not mad about it. So he wanted to dress up as Danny Go, and then my boyfriend and I were basically just supporting cast members. My boyfriend was Pap Pap, which was one of the cast members that wears like a lab coat. But I decided that we would do the dancing robot as one of the costumes. So I was working on all of that kind of in secret, so that he wouldn't know that I was going to be the dancing robot. And it was so funny because on the way to go trick-or-treating, he was really upset because I didn't have a costume. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to make a costume. But then I like popped it on right before we opened the door. And the look on his face was priceless. It was priceless. So that brings me to the 4 faves of the month. I started doing this the month before last, where I just choose 4 things that are kind of like my favorites from the month, like a little recap. I think that the funniest thing that happened this month was the craft day at the library and the glue incident. The best thing that I read or watched, I would say probably this book by Becky Chambers called Record of a Spaceborne Few. I really liked it. It was part of like a series of books, and I ended up reading all of them, but I really particularly liked that one. Best thing that I cooked or ate has to be that Hungry's bowl. It was so delicious. And then favorite memory, I had to put 2 because how could I choose between these 2? The rock and rolling print event, specifically the pull of the print, like watching it come up off of the board was so satisfying and so like relief inducing when it came out and it looked really good. So I was really happy about that. And then also my son's face when he saw that I was the dancing robot, it was just so cute. So those were my 2 favorite memories of the month. And that's the end of the book. So I hope you have enjoyed kind of just seeing all my silly drawings this month and kind of what I got up to. And I've already started a new book, same format, but I am doing some double page spreads in this one, so we'll see how long I can keep that up. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hope you're having an awesome month, and I will catch you guys on the next video.